Hello people of YouTube, it's Deephack here, and welcome to the live stream, channel update, and a little bit of DCS news with myself and dotChuckles. How did you all enjoy that? Was that interesting, seeing how to now not only make use of the radar in the F-16, but how to employ AIM-120 medium-range missiles and the Sidewinder short-range missiles? Give me a shout if you have any questions about that video. I saw some questions coming in on the chat, and that's good. It's always interesting to have some things to discuss there. And next week, I'm going to go over the helmet-mounted queuing system in the F-16 and how to fire missiles without using the radar in some cases. So when you're in a dogfight and you want to just look and shoot, how do you achieve that? But without any further ado, I shall introduce the one, the only, dotChuckles. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
What a fine Saturday it is.
Indeed.
It is made all the more fine that things are beginning to ease here, and I actually went out and had a beer and a burger in a pub with people.
People are the worst, man.
Well, I know, but I quite enjoyed it, so I was happy. Little another slice of normality. So yeah, it's a good Saturday.
Cool. Well, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Stockholm, and things have been fairly normal here since, well, forever. We never really had a lockdown, but at the same time, people were being very, very cautious. Many old people ran screaming from me if they came head to head with me on a pavement.
Well, I am now fully vaccinated, and I had my second jab. I am receiving an even better 5G signal. Hang on, wait a second. Sarcasm. Sarcasm.
/S.
So So that's pretty good. Although it did feel like I was kicked by a horse for a day. That was fun. But yes, normality. It's nice.
Yes. Welcome to the stream,
should we
everyone.
Do this thing then. Yeah.
Hello, Byron. Hello, Lindsay. Hello, Britain. Nice to have you all aboard. Yes, let's begin this thing. So, first up, we have the newsletter. And this week, oh no, I've obviously pressed the wrong button.
Oh no! Oh no!
There we go. Technical problems.
Hang on. Shall I go to? I can do this.
That's nice. It made a sound like a VHS tape, like clattering or something.
Yes, I know. That's because I do this for a living.
Nice. Okay, so after that momentary interruption, yes, the newsletter. This week's newsletter, they were mostly talking about the fog that they're working on. There was, of course... sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, part of Edge 2.7, yeah.
It's looking nice. I would love to click on this image and show you an expanded version, but they don't have one. So that's sad. But it is looking very nice. And I like the way that they have managed to get the clouds and the fog to really feel like they're part of the same scene.
Yeah. And then next we're looking at new units. The Leopard.
Yes.
The Leopard 2A5.
Raw.
With an amazing gun. I mean, that Rheinmetall gun, it's absolutely incredible. It's, I mean, they say the Challenger, which I believe was credited with the longest tank kill in the world, at something ridiculous. It's close to this. I think this gun is better. I have a bit of a thing about the Leopard. Actually, it's a good tank.
And I'm right in thinking that the gun in the Leopard is smooth bore, while the Challenger's gun is rifled.
Yes, it is indeed. And I was having a chat with somebody about this the other day because I'm a fucking nerd. And I believe the reason for that is because the British Army still uses Hesh rounds.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, so it requires the rifling for that. But yeah, that Rheinmetall gun on the Leopard is phenomenal. So yeah, quite nice to see it in the game. Yeah.
Absolutely. We also have some ships. Oh, actually, one other thing to say is that the Leopard is controllable in Combined Arms. So if you want to go and drive a Leopard, you can.
Yes, I'd quite like to drive a Leopard. So yeah, this just makes me think. I mean, I know Wags has mentioned in one of his live streams that he did with a content creator a few months ago that Combined Arms is going to receive some love in the future. So
yes,
who knows? Maybe we see ground modules. I don't know, but I mean, certainly their ground moduling. Their ground modeling is really coming on. I mean,
well, take something like Syria. You could actually have a ground battle on the Syria map. Probably
it's
even
so
now,
good, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Probably even now less so on the Caucasus map. Although it's vastly improved, but it's not quite the same level. But Persian Gulf, Syria, even really the Nevada, the NTTR map would work too, I guess.
And I mean, there's models there that go right back to almost, I think, like Flanker 2 days.
Oh yeah. That
are starting to get updated. So yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah.
Some ships next.
Some ships. Yes. Combattante 2. Which is actually I saw a video about this one. It has a kind of small caliber cannon on the back, a larger caliber cannon on the front, and then it has harpoon missile launchers that can fire either way. Mark S is telling me off for saying without further ado. I love saying without further ado, and I know that everybody says it and it's so cliche, but
yeah. Well, thanks Shakespeare for it.
So yeah, this Le Combat, I'm not even going to try pronouncing it again. This ship, for such a small vessel, has quite an impressive punch. You could do a lot of damage with a little patrol boat like this. Well, actually, that's exactly what they say in the newsletter. Packs a powerful punch. I
mean, it's very much the new naval warfare in that it's like, yes, I love the sort of 1940s up to the early 50s era of ships with big guns on them, but by the time missiles happened, just became irrelevant. You can have a platform with a bunch of harpoons on it that can do much more targeted damage than probably any of the great battleships of World War II could do.
Yes.
Two other naval vessels, because let's not forget some of these large battleships that the US Navy maintained, and believe it or not, are still on the roster, and even though they're museums, could be called back into active service, but they won't be.
Battlestar Galactica, anyone?
Yeah, well, exactly. They were used still up into the early 90s in the first Gulf War to bombard shore positions, and vessels like that, super effective against other ships, but not so much at absolutely plastering a coastline with artillery.
Yes,
but
that's the thing.
That's what air power is for.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. If you wanted to take out something like a warship, you could.
Sorry. Mark, how about without further kerfuffle instead?
I know.
Fucking stealing that. Sorry. That just completely derailed me.
Without any additional flim-flam.
All right, stealing that. Sorry, back to what we were talking about. Yeah,
that one deserved a call out. What was I even going to say? Oh yes, so you can actually you could get some fairly low cost aircraft like GF-17s or something, and just put a whole load of anti-shipping missiles on them, because of course the modern warships with their CIWS are capable of shooting down most missiles, but if you get enough of them, one or two will get through.
Yeah. So Sea-Wise Giant. I actually didn't know anything about this ship,
No,
and
me
then I
neither.
read the little history in the in the newsletter, and then went off and did some research, and it's quite a story actually. It's worth reading up. With it being bombed and then salvaged and then continued to do stuff.
Yes.
Absolutely. Interesting naval history, if you're interested in that. So,
Yeah. Involved in the Iran-Iraq war. Yeah. Very interesting. And we have the Gulf map, and so it could become useful in some missions.
And then what do we got? We're moving on to the Leopard 2A5 and the Leopard 2A6. Again, really nice ground modeling.
Yes.
Really nice details. I'm a big War Thunder player, and I've always found that the attention to detail on their models is really good. And this is getting, this is as good. I know they're cherry picking their angles a bit here.
Yes.
But
Yes, of course.
It's nice. Yeah. Roll on more love for the ground combined arms.
Yes.
It's been a long day.
Let's have some more combined arms. And hello there, Bina. And now the Chieftain Mark III. Now this is nice. This is a bit Cold War
gives me
era.
the horn. Absolutely, the Chieftain. Yeah, that's a tank. Yep.
And such a long lineage. This thing is basically a World War II tank that they kept upgrading.
Yeah, because this, I want to say the first sort of Chieftain was on the drawing board at the end of World War II and didn't surface until the 50s, I think.
It says 1960s here. It was a
60s.
Apparently a development of the
Okay.
Centurion tank, which did serve in World War II.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. That's where I'm getting confused. It was a follow-on from the Centurion. Right. Okay. And yeah, it just went on for ages. I mean, the Chieftain was around, and I want to say it's still in active service in some places as well. Maybe is Israel? Do they still have Chieftains?
Somebody still has them. I know that much, but I don't remember who. Yeah, somebody is still using these. Byron saying here, for me, AI is a huge thing. There is a limit to how many planes I can learn, but more targets and immersion is always awesome. I think he makes a good point there, yes.
Spot on comment. Yeah. Absolutely, because, the mix of for a while when before like the Syria maps came in and Syria, the Gulf, and these extra maps around when we just had the Caucasus, you could kind of get away with the Eastern Bloc stuff because it fit the setting, but now some of that stuff, it needs some more variation because some of it's not theater appropriate. I mean, okay, a lot of the Eastern Bloc is because it's widely exported, but it's all the other additional bits and pieces. So when you're on a map like Syria or a map like the Gulf and you're missing some key AI elements, it feels a little bit bare. So it's a spot on comment. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Shout out to Mark S. And yeah, thank you for the funny comment as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it just totally derailed me.
BM-21 Grad, another multiple missile launcher doodah from the Soviets. Yeah, we already had a Grad in game, but I'm assuming this is either just an updated model or a different version of the Grad. Yeah, the Grad has always been in DCS. I remember setting up missions ages ago with Grads doing rocket launches. Okay. But this is certainly far, far nicer looking than whatever we already had.
Yeah. Again, their modelling is just getting so good for the ground stuff.
Hello, gentlemen from the north.
And then finally, we've got our
the most important unit.
Fire. Yeah. To paraphrase the Chieftain, oh my god, the plane is on fire.
Yes.
And then this can come along. Yeah, I'm disappointed. We talked about this before. We talked about this before we went on air. The thing that I'm disappointed they didn't do is the snow clearer, that the ridiculous vehicle where they took an engine from a MiG-15 and shoved it on the back, and you just blow the snow off the runway.
Yep, it does the job.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, that was the first thing I thought about as well. As soon as I saw this, I was like, "Oh, where's my snow clearing vehicle?" Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the last paragraph. To better support both single-player and multiplayer gameplay, we're pleased to inform that the new models, the Leopard 2A4, Leopard 2A4 TRS, blah, 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 are now available in open beta. These models will be integrated into DCS combined arms as player-controllable units.
Yes, indeed.
And I think that's probably been the first sort of big addition to combined arms for a while.
Could be. It could well be.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Somebody in chat is saying Wikipedia says Chieftain still in service in Iran, Jordan, and Oman. Yeah. I was aware it was in service somewhere. I think Israel had it until not that long ago, and then replaced it with other stuff, like, because I mean they've got things
Merkava.
like the Merkava, which the tank in Arma 3 is based on. So yeah, I think that sort of took over duties from the Chieftain.
Yes.
So a ground focused newsletter, I think, this week.
Yes, indeed. Of course, the main thing that happened this week was that we had the update to Open Beta. It brought a huge number of bug fixes, which is very welcome, and also big additions for the F-18. We'll go over those in just a sec. But they, unfortunately, no fix for the cloud jitter in VR, but they say that they're working on it and they're confident that they're making progress. And also the fog is coming. So yes,
that cloud jitter, it seems to affect people differently, because I don't notice it that much.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's very apparent. So I don't know if it's a headset thing, or if it's a settings thing or graphics card thing. But it's not been that bad for me. So
it has been bad for me. However, I've found it very easy to ignore. Whereas I know that some people who observe it, their eye is drawn to it and they can't look away from it. I just stop looking at it, and then I'm fine. Frantic was saying that it was starting to make him ill sometimes.
Well, I think certain frequencies flickering, like certain refresh, like, if you've got a low refresh rate, that can start to make people feel a bit queasy. So
yeah,
totally. I can understand why. Yeah.
Totally. I want to call out some updates that we had just there on Wednesday. One of the ones I'm most excited about, if we ignore the F-18 for a moment, is the changes to the AIM-120 modelling. They're now modelling the kind of chaff resistance and ground clutter. Well, they always were modelling these, but I think they were sort of faking it a little, whereas now they're suggesting that in actual fact they're calculating these things. So changed the chaff/slow-moving target filtering logic, introduced a ground clutter model, missile notching now depends on the target versus clutter signal ratio, range of blind velocities depends on geometry of intersection of seeker, beam and ground. So they're now actually figuring out what the radar returns would look like to the missile, and then basing that, whereas I think before it was kind of like, probability based or something. I don't know. It was a simpler model before than it is now. And they've applied the same thing to the AIM-7, which is nice. Missile fidelity always,
given that it is really our primary weapon, it's good to see that that's getting the attention it really needs. I noticed there's quite a lot of updates from Razbam to both the Harrier and the Mirage.
Well,
just sort of...
In general, up until this point, yes, they've been doing a lot of updates. Actually, in this update, though, just a small number of fixes from Razbam. But in the last couple of updates, they did a lot The Mirage in particular, it got some new navigational symbology in the HUD and adjustments to the autopilot and some extra symbology on the radar, some quite key stuff, which looks nice.
Yeah.
I need to take the Mirage up again at some point.
Yeah. Yarp.
The other one I like is that, let me see, how did they word it exactly? There was a change to the AI, which meant that now enemy... Yeah, here we go. In the case where an active missile is launched in TWS, when you've just bugged instead of STT'd, AI aircraft will begin evasive maneuvers only after the seeker has gone active. Previously, the moment you launched, they would start evading, even though there's no possible way they could have known that you'd launched. So that was an annoying one, and I'm very happy to see that it's now gone. And then apart from that, just an absolute slew of stuff on the F-18. So we have the integration.
Yeah. We've got to be getting to feature complete now. Toward like,
I kind of feel like this is feature complete. There can only be a couple of items really left.
Yeah, things that we probably wouldn't really notice or care about. Yeah, I'm sort of going through it. I mean, like we mentioned last week that the HOTAS functionality was getting a big update, and you just see the list of things that you can now do on the HOTAS that you couldn't do.
Yes.
Before, because the Hornet was always a bit of a button dance, when you were trying to sort of prosecute a target, whereas now it's all on the HOTAS,
And that's the nice thing that for the F-16, kind of from the beginning, we have an almost complete HOTAS simulation. So in the F-16, in the video today that I just demonstrated, I was able to do that entire attack after I pressed air-to-air mode. Then I was hands on throttle and stick for everything. I didn't take my hands off the throttle and stick to do the rest of that, which is very impressive.
And I'm quite glad that the HOTAS has got an update, because I just modded my Warthog throttle to have I took this crappy little thing off.
Plastic nipple.
And replaced it with a proper slew stick. Although this is now actually making an excellent little fidget button.
We all need it.
So I've not thrown it away. It's sitting next to me on my desk, and I've been fidgeting with the nipple. All week. Yeah. No, it's just tons of stuff in this update for the F-18.
I want to call out the Slam ER. Very impressive missile, and Mr. Wagner, as always, has a good video on how to employ it correctly. Very capable.
As does Spudknocker, I believe. He's got a pretty good video about this. So you can check his channel.
Yes.
Yeah, you can check his channel out.
Raid mode is very cool. The new smaller flares, so we can carry more flares. Offset waypoints, a nice thing. Control stick steering. I saw that demonstrated. I can't remember who demonstrated that one, but somebody demonstrated it on YouTube. And basically, you can just press autopilot, press on, and then left and right trim will actually set a heading. And so, like, hands off, you can steer the aircraft, basically.
It's it's similar to in the Boeing aircraft CWS control wheel steering, where you can just put a little bit of input into the yoke, and it'll pick a new heading or attitude for you.
Yes.
So.
And Byron says correctly, like the Mirage. The Mirage has exactly this same feature, which is nice. Bunch of HOTAS stuff, which is nice. And we now have the TDC cursor in air-to-ground radar expanded modes. Actually, the other cool one, just below here, the SA page, lock shoot lines is pretty cool. This was partially implemented before, but now it's fully implemented. If someone has a sensor lock, there's a dashed line. If somebody's actually fired a weapon, then it's a solid line on the SA page.
And fixing the drop in frame rate in Syria.
They fixed that.
That is now fixed. Yeah. So when you hit the AA mode switch in Syria, you have got quite a bad frame rate drop, actually. So that is now fixed.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. And then so many fixes. This is like all the rest of this is just bug fixes, which is amazing to see. That's really, really nice. I've not even familiarized myself with this list yet, so I can't really say much more.
Just lots of. I mean, we must. We're getting on to feature complete. I can't imagine there is much more, which is good news for the F-16 fans, because when the F-18 is finished, the rest of the team that was still working on the F-18 then move over to the F-16. And indeed. Hopefully we should see a rapid of development on the F-16.
I do look forward to an unfastening of the development.
Yes,
a speedification.
Unfasten the development, speedification. Yes,
it needs it because the F-16 is still so far behind.
It is. Also, as well, the new coupled mode, a bunch of fixes to that.
Yes.
Because it was doing some odd stuff when you engaged it. Whereas now, I think they've fixed a lot of the oddities that coupled mode had. So yeah,
very nice.
And then speaking of the F-16, yeah, a few kind of token fixes.
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully, yeah, if that's F-18 pretty much there, then yeah, let's get cracking with the F-16, guys.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Especially seeing as how I've started a tutorial series, which I'm probably going to have to throw away half of the videos at some point and re-record them.
Because as things get fixed and added, and yeah,
the kind of part of the reason why I started with the air-to-air stuff is because the air-to-air stuff is the most complete. So I don't think the videos that I've published so far will need to be changed, because the TWS and RWS modes work pretty much as advertised as far as I can see. But the air-to-ground stuff is probably going to be massively overhauled. And the DED, give me my DED pages, please. Where's my cruise page? I love my cruise page.
So I see as well, there's a whole bunch of fixes to campaigns.
Yes.
I have never really touched the DCS campaigns. And I'm wondering if I should put that right. I mean, it'd be interesting to hear chat's opinion on the campaigns, because I understand they are popular and some of them are very good and have lots of good voice acting and storyline and stuff. But I've been exclusively multiplayer really when it comes to flying. So I don't know. Is this a mistake? Should I
can
invest
recommend
time?
I can recommend the campaign for the helicopters at least, because the helicopters, of course, we fly less often in multiplayer and less often together because they're just bullet magnets in many situations. But certainly the UH-1 Huey and the MI-8, the Mighty 8 campaigns that come with the aircraft are very good.
Was that Spring Tension and what was the Huey one? I forget the name. Yeah,
I don't remember. But the thing is, I became much better at flying those two helicopters because of the campaigns, because that was the opportunity to spend more time with them, whereas online I wouldn't use them that much.
I'm just going to call out something that Byron said here. You should find it hard to do online. I've done a bit, but with work and family, it's hard to coordinate, so campaigns give purpose to flying. Interesting point, because I do forget, and I know we cry a lot about, the dedicated server software being bad and, netcode being bad, but multiplayer DCS, we represent quite a minority, which
Perhaps.
is, there were some figures that came out a little while back that showed that actually, like, in terms of the people who have bought DCS and do stuff with it, like, the amount of people flying online is not that high. And actually, when you look at the server list on any given, weeknight or weekend, like, yeah, there's a lot of servers, but it's like zero of whatever, and there's like 4 or 5 servers that are populated, and you add all that up, and there's maybe only a few hundred people.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're a small number of people, I guess. So yeah, it's
But
it's a good point. Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the correct term. It's unparalleled, in my opinion, the experience of flying in multiplayer with a good squadron. You can't get that from a campaign, from a single-player campaign.
Yeah. Interesting other comments coming out in chat here. Campaigns are okay, but this is Britain. Campaigns are okay, but I think the AI is still the limiting factor. Getting the AI to behave properly is a headache. Hard agree. Yes, absolutely. Having recently gone through some pain of even using object-oriented scripting to make AI do stuff in it's janky, and even with the valiant attempts made by external parties to make the AI in DCS behave, it's hard going.
Yeah,
hard going.
And of course, with things like Moose, which you've been using, you're basically externalizing a lot of the AI. You're working around the limitations of what's built in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're using an external algorithm to let it handle stuff outside the scripting engine, and then effectively inject the results back into the mission. And it's great, it's brilliant, but you've got to be good mission development tools, and I'm looking at things like Arma's mission editor, for example.
Yes.
If you are a gamer or a user of that software, you can make a good mission. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think with DCS, you have to be a programmer as well.
Yes.
And I think that's why we get maybe a lot of lackluster, jet missions for, that aren't made by development teams, because you have to be you have to be a programmer.
Yeah, you've got to get in there and do the Lua.
Yeah, and it's a shame, because I think if ED actually put more time into the mission editor and gave us a proper 3D mission editor for a start. Don't get me wrong, the little 3D top-down representations in the mission editor help a lot, but it's not anything like something like Zeus, for example.
Oh no. I think Arma 3 definitely is the kind of gold standard for this these days. Their mission editor is excellent.
Yeah. And if we had a tool like that, I think it would help not only the offline community, but I think it would help the online community as well. And the ability to just have persistent environments. Like, the biggest thing that I came up against with our dedicated server was it is basically impossible to have a persistent environment.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to do garbage cleanup. So otherwise your map will just fill up with dead vehicles, so you can't clean them. The only way you can do it is with a bit of a hack that basically deletes the vehicle just before the weapon hits it.
Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, you can't have any environment persistence. Yeah. And I think maybe that's why multiplayer isn't, as populated as it could be. Mm-hmm. There are some servers that do it very well, but yeah, you've got to be pretty much a Lua god to be able to do it.
Mark S there calling out the C-101 and a large number of updates for that. Actually, this is an aircraft that I've always really liked, and Avio Dev. They seem to me to be really on the case. They've been doing a lot of hard work on this aircraft. over quite a long period of time now. And I repeatedly look at this and think, I want to get back in this aircraft. I want to fly it, try it out, because I've got a real soft spot for these jet trainers, especially ones like this that have multi-crew.
Did we not call them out last time or the time before? Because aren't they working on something?
The F1.
That's right. They're doing the F1 Mirage. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Although under a different name in that case. Airges, they are.
Yeah. But it's basically Aviodiv.
Yes.
I think the reason why I stayed away, I mean, the thing that I liked about the C101 was the modeling's lovely in it. The cockpit feels really good, and it did from early release, like when they first put it out. It was like, this is a nicely built cockpit.
Yes.
But I don't know, the flight model didn't feel right.
Well, at release they had only the simplified flight model. They now have the EFM. And even from the very beginning, the systems modelling was something that I really liked. The aircraft has quite a few interesting systems, and it has a what's that thing the airliners have? You have the autopilot, but before the flight director. This aircraft it's unusual in that it has a fully programmable flight director. So it's designed to obviously be hand flown, but you can give yourself quite a lot of assistance on how to fly it, which is kind of cool.
Okay, then I think I need to, now that I know that they now have an EFM in there, I probably need to go back to this aircraft, because like when I first got it, I flew it and I thought, oh, it's nicely modeled, the systems are great, but the flight model it just feels like it felt like an FSX flight model.
Yes. That's quite the insult.
Yeah, I know. But if they've got an EFM in now, I would be happy to go back and give it another look.
Absolutely, and I need to do the same. I flew it after the EFM was added, and I thought it flew really nicely. In fact, I managed to stall out during a run-in and brake landing, and I tumbled towards the ground in a very convincing manner. So I can vouch that it's pretty good.
Yeah, Byron, we're not going to mention it, and we'll never mention it. And no. It never happened. And
I mentioned it once. I think I got away with it. Welcome, Niche. Nice to have you on board.
Too painful.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, C101. Gonna have to definitely take a look at that. Okay, let's move on from the update. The other thing, this actually happened immediately before last week's news, and that was the post about the Mi-24, and I managed to just miss it before we started. And they've shared with us now the armaments. No one's going to be able to read that. It's tiny, and unfortunately the image is very, very small, so I can't even zoom it, otherwise it'll just be a mess of pixels. But I can tell you that the aircraft is capable of carrying the Sturm. Actually, what do we call it in NATO again? Spiral. 86 Spiral. So it's got dedicated pylons on the outside that can only carry the 86, and then the 4 inner pylons can carry rockets, gun pods, bombs of various types. That's pretty much it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think normal loadouts for it are going to be the rockets, and then of course it has an integrated cannon.
Yeah, the Spiral, I want to say, is that the same missile that they stuck on their APCs, and I think, was it the T-55?
I don't recall exactly, but I know it's used by a variety of their ground vehicles, Soviet ground vehicles, that is. And they even had a dedicated tank destroyer, which had only these missiles, I think, attached to it.
Certainly having come up against it in tabletop games, with as accurate as the stats gets translated into a tabletop simulation, they are quite nasty.
Well, I believe they are effective, and the thing is, it's an anti-tank missile, so you don't have any of the limitations that you do with a cannon shell. This is going to penetrate pretty much any given armored vehicle.
Yeah. Because I think this is what made their sort of I say APCs, they're not APCs, they're really light tanks, so deadly. Like if we'd ever faced a Soviet invasion, they come charging through the Fulda Gap, with these almost disposable vehicles with like a super effective missile on them, we would have been in big trouble.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
In Russian tabletop, dice rolls you.
And Team Yankee, yes, it absolutely does. Yeah.
I still need to play that, actually. It looks rather good.
Really good. It's really good.
But yeah, we've got a decent variety of weapon loadouts here. I'm also very interested in this loadout where you can have 4 fuel tanks on the aircraft. It's like, does that? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Does that mean that you can basically fly forever when you do that?
Yeah. Well, kind of makes sense given. Well, actually, no, I'm going to retract that. It doesn't make sense because I was going to say, it can transport troops, but I don't think they actually ever really did transport troops with it much. Like,
I could imagine them like transporting like airborne troops or maybe special forces.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine them using this as like an APC, which is in fact what it was originally designed to do. Like on the drawing board, they envisaged this as an airborne APC. But I don't know if that's ever how it was used.
Like I think in Afghanistan in the 80s they did use that capability a bit, but I don't think as a doctrine it. I could be wrong. I'm totally willing to be corrected, but I remember reading somewhere that actually it never really worked out. They tended to use the Mi-8 to move troops about, and these were just heavy gunships. But yeah, obviously Afghanistan's a big place. You need lots of fuel to get there.
Yeah, it's nice to have that capability though, because of course there was that famous incident in Afghanistan where British Apaches were carrying Royal Marines on their stub wings because they've got no internal carriage. Yeah.
It was rescue.
Yes.
Rescue. The Apaches went in. There was a procedure where they could take their webbing belt, and I think they could wrap it through. There was like a handhold and attachment mount, and this was a practiced procedure, but it was like one of these procedures that's like, yeah, you can do it, but you're probably never gonna, but in case this ever happens, this is what you would do. And then of course they went in and did it, and it's
the Battle of Jugram, I think.
Yeah. Now one of the pilots wrote a book.
He did, which I have, like, and I don't remember the name.
Is it Rattler 2? Oh, yeah, the name's got it in my head, but he wrote a book, which I believe has come into some criticism because there's a bit of dramatic license taken, I think. But I mean, I don't know. But it's a very good book. I really enjoyed it. But he went into what happened there.
Would have been easier with a hind.
Yeah. Open the door, pile in.
Yeah.
Can we take a moment though to talk about the incredibly Russian numbering system?
Oh man, yes. Let's get the diagram. What is this?
Right. Okay.
When describing the sequence of dropping bombs, you number them 1 to 4 on the internal pylons. And when talking about launcher devices or guided missile armament, then we number, oh my god, 1, 2 on the outside, 3, 4 on the outside, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the inside.
Yeah.
What?
So yeah, you'd think it'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Dear Russian military, what kind of crack are you smoking?
Yeah. Very much, the British philosophy of ergonomics in a cockpit or systems design, which is if you can find a space, put it in it.
Yeah.
Or just like, here's a bunch of stuff. Let's just throw it at a design board, see what sticks, and we'll go with that. And it feels very much like that.
Have you ever seen a Jaguar cockpit?
It's a mess. Not as bad as the Buccaneer cockpit.
That one I've not seen. I should check that out.
So the Buccaneer cockpit, to effectively land the Buccaneer, you effectively have to cross your arms and do all sorts of nonsense, because the Buccaneer had a blown flaps system where it blew air over the flap, and to control that, it was like, just set it up, it was on the opposite side of the cockpit, and it was a nightmare. There's a great book called Bucket Full of Sunshine.
Okay.
Which was about, it's an RAF pilot who flew the Buccaneers in Germany, and Bucket Full of Sunshine is what they referred to the nuclear weapons that the Buccaneer carried in Germany. And he goes into how the cockpit, until it got updated, the cockpit philosophy in the Buccaneer was mental. Although what was quite nice was that the navigator in the Buccaneer sat slightly offset left and the pilot slightly offset right, despite the fact that they were behind each other, so the navigator could actually look forward in the Buccaneer. Which they did say was quite good. But yeah, this 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4. How?
I'm wondering if perhaps some pylons were added later, like these outrigger pylons were maybe added later, and that's what's messed it up.
Okay. Sorry, Byron's just calling out Mike Brooks. Yes, that's the guy.
Also, actually, blown flaps, very, very interesting that they were included in so many Cold War era aircraft where they knew they needed more lift for takeoff and landing, but because of the limitations of aerodynamics, they needed to have very, very small, very aerodynamic wings. And you just don't see it anymore because it's quite a complicated system that needs a lot of maintenance, is prone to failure. And of course, when it goes wrong, you kind of can't land the aircraft.
Yeah. I've got a theory about this numbering system.
Hit me. What is it?
I wonder if that is a firing sequence that is enforced, that you must fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because I wonder if it's the case that if you don't, your wings will fall off.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Genuinely, because that sequence, it will move the loading inward.
Yes. Well, certainly what they say here in the post is that for the inner pylons, when they're carrying bombs, this sequence 1, 2, 3, 4 is the sequence for dropping bombs. Now, that doesn't make any sense, because then you're going to be, if you go 1, 2, yeah, you're going to be like unbalanced.
No, but the thing is I reckon you're not gonna, if you're dropping bombs, you're not going to be carrying anything on the wingtips. So my theory is if you're carrying that loadout and you fire 5, 6, 7, and 8, you've got these missiles on the far outboard pylons, and I reckon that might be putting a lot of stress on the wingtips with having the weight so far out.
Maybe. I don't know.
So, I mean, it might be a loading issue that it brings the weight in, as opposed to having something on the far extremes where it could just, take your wingtips off. Don't know. Okay. But it's very, very Russian and very bonkers.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Okay, moving on. This week, Cosmo posted a video giving us a tour.
It wasn't this week, actually. He posted it quite a while back, but I just picked it up this week. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, again, this is further hype for the coming Apache. Obviously, Cosmo, he's used to be an Apache, or I don't know if he still is an Apache pilot, but he gives a really good overview in this video of the Apache cockpit, the systems, where everything is, how it all works. Yeah, go watch it. His channel's really good.
Yes. And this is the same guy who did the videos on the Kiowa, right?
Yeah, because he also flew the Kiowa as well, I believe.
I think he was an instructor at one stage.
Was he an instructor in the Kiowa as well? And I think he's got some, I could be wrong, but I think he's got some hand in the development as well. So, Yeah, Simon Dale says he's retired. Right, there we go. So he's no longer active, but he has a great YouTube channel full of good stuff. So go check him out.
As I recall, with the Kiowa, he did a series of something like 3 videos on the startup, and each one was about an hour and a half. It was absolutely incredible, the detail that he went into.
Yeah.
You know, some people might think that sounds boring. I was gripped.
Yeah. He knows his onions, like.
Yes, it was very, very interesting. So yeah, this looks really good. I've not watched this yet, but I'm going to, because it's good. This will definitely get the engines running for Apache, I think. It's going to be very exciting.
He doesn't go in as much detail as he did with the Kiowa, but it's just a good general prep. Interesting fact as well that I didn't know, that he talks about the rear cockpit being the primary cockpit and not the pilot's cockpit, because both crew are pilots, and they actually take turnabout depending on the day. That so it's not, like he was saying, that it's not, a dedicated role that, they'll swap about. I totally didn't know that.
I had no idea. I thought it was. Yeah. I thought it was literally a pilot and a gunner were the crew, but that's interesting that they're interchangeable.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if that carries over to the British Apaches, because I want to say that a lot of former Tornado navigators got shoved in the front seat of Apaches. So, interesting.
Yeah, I've got no idea. And Britain's telling us that actually that was Barundus who did the Kiowa startups. Right. So that's a good note. Thank you. I recommend that everybody takes a little look at that if they have an interest. The other thing that I noticed, I've been watching for a while these different kind of community mods that people are creating. I find these very interesting. Of course, the quality, detail, and accuracy vary greatly with these, and some of them, of course, have been problematic, like the Super Hornet one that we mentioned last week or the week before, which
squashed. Yeah.
Yes, because it was stealing lots of Eagle Dynamics content to make it. But here's the UH-60. I think this looks very, very interesting. In a Reddit post, the creator stated that it's at an extremely early level of development. But I have to say, for like a first pass at the cockpit, this actually looks rather good. Not amazing texturing or anything like that, but dimensionally, it has the feel. To me, it has the right feel.
I mean, if you got this in FSX or X-Plane like 4 years ago, you'd be like, "Oh, this is pretty good."
Absolutely.
So for a first stab, nicely done. Yeah.
Absolutely. He states that everything is subject to change and it's at a very early stage. But here he has a video where he demonstrates the startup procedure. And so it looks like it's already possible to do something that resembles a realistic startup of the UH-60. So that's pretty cool. And given how ubiquitous the UH-60 is in American service, it's nice to have this in the game.
So we've got the Apache coming.
Yep.
We've got the Kiowa coming, and we've got a community mod of the UH-60. Shall we just go ahead and call DCS Jane's Apache Longbow 3?
Yes. Matt Wagner, of course, he was producer on Jane's Apache Longbow, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
So he's completed that whole loop.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, those were the 3 helicopters that was in Longbow 2. Was the UH-60, the Kiowa, and the Apache. I don't think there was a 4th one. No.
Okay, that's pretty.
So we are there. We're full circle.
Absolutely. Check this out. See if you guys are interested. It actually states it's a UH-60L model. I am not familiar with the different models of UH-60, so I don't know if that's current, old, future, or what. I don't know what that means, but interesting nonetheless. And then we've got some strange posts that you sent me links to, Chuck. I wonder if you can explain what's going on here.
Right. So returning viewers will know that there has been. We made a prediction. What was it? A couple of weeks back that 2 weeks ago that we really put some kind of this is it. We're calling it.
Yes.
The next heat blur module was going to be a Gripen.
Based on nothing.
Well, I don't know. We did have a look at everything that they said, and that it was moving to a new generation, all this kind of stuff, and
I had a feeling in my waters.
Yeah, and I think it's backed up by some good evidence out there that the next heat blur module is a Gripen. Now myself and Frantic, who I don't think is in chat, we got into this a little bit because he reckons it's a Tornado. Because Heat Blur did say ages back that their next module was gonna it was going to move on and use its swing wing technology that they developed. And to my mind, I thought F-111 or MiG-23, because there's no way it could be a Tornado. And Frantic was like, no, it's a Tornado. The next heat blur module is a Tornado. It's going to be a Tornado. And I would love it to be the Tornado.
Me too.
Because it's one of my favorite aircraft. Sitting over my shoulder there is the boxed copy of Digital Integration's Tornado, which I believe Wags has said was an inspiration for DCS. It's a very formative aircraft for me. And I said, it's not a Tornado because ED approached whoever holds the license, and they just went, no.
Yes.
Not happening.
And that's in fact stated here in this forum post.
Yeah. So what it says is that this is from Minsky. No Tornado for DCS. There's no data in the open source, and aircraft manufacturer denied ED's purchase requests. Baron, I don't know if Panavia still exists. I think the license is now moved and it's owned by somebody else, and it's probably somebody like Leonardo or one of the whoever fell out of British
one of the
aerospace.
Mutant Turtles, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Panavia has gone, but yeah, basically ED approached them and said,
can we make a sim?
Can we make a sim? And they went, nah. Now that was the information that I had, and that's why I was coming down hard on it's a Gripen. And in fact, it's got so serious that me and Frantic have money on this now. Because if it's a Tornado, I am going to buy him the module, and if it's a Gripen, he's going to buy me the module. But
what do I get?
Scorn. And then of course we found, last week we talked about it, we found a tweet from Heat Blur way back at the start, who tweeted Sab and said, hey, let's make a Gripen happen, and tweeted some contact details.
Yes.
This was after Vigan came out, so it was kind of like, it's the Gripen. It's so obvious that Heat Blur are doing a Gripen because we can see the evidence, we can see the trail. They've been, there was a social media post towards Saab about it. But my confidence has been shaken a little recently.
Yes. This post by Wags.
Yeah. This is posted December 20th, so not that long ago. Dear all, it seems that something may have been lost in translation. While we, Eagle Dynamics, have no plans for the Tornado, it is not off the table for a talented and qualified third party. As a huge fan of Digital Integration's Tornado, I'd personally love to see this aircraft in DCS someday. Kind regards, Wags. I am shook.
Yeah. And the thing is, I saw this post at the time, and then for some reason completely forgot about it. So I knew that he'd said this. I still think it's the Gripen.
So do I. I still think it's the Gripen as well. Yeah, but especially as I've got money on it now.
Yes, but I think there is one fact that we have, and that is the Eagle Dynamics reached out to try and get the rights to make a Tornado and were denied.
Yeah.
And I think their point here is that maybe somebody else with better connections or more money would still be able to get it done. I don't know who in the DCS world could possibly have better connections or more money than Eagle, though. So I still kind of feel like it's not a possibility, but the door is at least open a crack here. It's not completely closed.
Yeah.
It would seem.
I still think Heatblur's announced next DCS module is I still think it's a Gripen, because they've said that they were moving on to a new time period. The Gripen is in the 90s. And for all the other facts that, the E models come out and, maybe they need a desktop trainer, and we might get the previous version in the same way that the A10, when, the National Air Guard needed a desktop trainer, we got like a previous block, all that kind of stuff. So I still think it's the Gripen, but a little seed of a doubt now.
Well, I think it is a possibility that it could be the Tornado. I can definitely see that. Britain is mentioning here that there's a lot of classified stuff in the Gripen. I know that there are some Swedish-specific systems that are classified, but the truth of the matter is that the aircraft is widely exported. And so, certainly in the export modules, there's nothing classified in those.
Yeah, the export model's like pretty out there. Just so to sort of wrap up, because chat is now moving very, very quickly.
Yes.
Which means they approached the trainer and found out that another dev had already bought the rights to it. So yeah, I have a theory that and it could be totally nonsense. It's just a theory. When ED reached out, Eagle Dynamics were still Russian. They're now Swiss, I believe.
That's correct.
And it was because of a lot of companies were going, you're doing military contact, and this was when relations were deteriorating a bit over Crimea, and a lot of third parties, a lot of customers were like, yeah, we can't really. And then they moved their headquarters to Switzerland to be neutral.
Yes. Classic maneuver.
Strangely, the GR1, the IDS, and the GR4, despite now being out of service, is still really classified. There's still a lot of stuff in that aircraft that is central to how the aircraft operates that is really classified. So I think, trying to get that information at that time when they reached out quite a while back, maybe that's why they got the Kivo. But maybe a third party in a country that's pretty neutral, like Sweden, where a lot of heat blur are from. Who knows?
I've got to admit, before I thought it wasn't a possibility, I now concede that it's a possibility. Somebody could make a Tornado, I think. Which would you prefer? Asks Nitch.
Yeah, I've just seen Nitch. If I'm being honest, I know I've got money on it, but if I'm being honest, I would commit lewd and lascivious acts to somebody with poor personal hygiene to get a Tornado. Like, it's such a formative aircraft for me. Like, I would absolutely want the Tornado.
See,
I'd love it. I'd love the Gripen. It would be great. I'd enjoy it. But Tornado, absolutely Tornado.
And he puts the same question to me, and I'm really torn because I would love to see the Gripen because it's so modern, so advanced. However, again, the Tornado would be amazing. And Heatblur have already proven their ability to create very, very useful AI crew in the form of Jester. Imagine your radar operator, I don't know what it's called in the Tornado, weapons operator, whatever.
Navigator.
Navigator,
I believe.
Okay, so just imagine a Jester-style navigator, and of course they would have to give him a proper British accent. And
he'd have to be sarky as fuck.
Yes, and he'd have to have a mustache.
And he'd have to have his pad of paper that he can hold up in the back with an arrow with "I'm with stupid" written on it, which is one of the funniest photographs I have ever seen. If you haven't seen the photograph, go Google, try and find it on Google, because it's a Tornado GR4 going low level through the Mach loop, the Mac Loop in Wales, it's famous for photographers snapping photographs of jets flying very low through the valley. And there's this beautiful photograph of a GR4 going pretty much full chat at low level. And the pilot in the front, he's super serious, focused. I'm focused on flying. And then the navigator in the back is just holding up his notepad going, I'm with stupid.
Oh, fantastic.
And they got into so much shit for it as well.
Yes, I can imagine. Like was it Hornet pilots who drew a cock in the sky?
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't. That was right. That happened recently, but the first person to do it was a Jaguar pilot. And it was an AOC's inspection at I think it was Cosmore, and it was in the 80s. And this guy, he drew in the sky with his contrail a 4-mile long cock and balls. And it hung around for about 18 hours because there was no wind. And it caused crashes because people were looking up, what the fuck is that? And they just drove into stuff.
Oh, man.
He kept his job, so yeah.
To answer your question, Nitch, I cannot decide because I really want both.
Yeah.
Whichever one they come out with next, I would buy. Actually, given this heat blur, they could come out with the Air Tractor, and I'd be buying it on day one.
Yeah, their stuff is very good, but no, I'd have to go for the Tornado. It was the jet I wanted to fly when I was a kid. Like I played DI's Tornado to death. Absolutely loved it. Had all the pictures from all the magazines, like when the first Gulf War happened. I had all the jet. I from the news, I was seeing like, which jet is that? What name's on that jet? And I followed them all. And for me, absolute Tornado. I'd still be happy if it's the Gripen, and I've got money on it being the Gripen. But yeah, God, yeah, the Tornado. Like, just to be able to do, radar offset bombing and
yes,
all that kind of stuff. Deliver the JP-233 on a runway. Like, holy crap, how cool would that be?
Or Durandal.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of really interesting Alarm. They had so many really, really interesting unique weapons.
Yeah, Alarm was lethal. Like the idea of like, okay, we don't know where the air defenses are, so we're going to fire a missile that's going to zoom up into the stratosphere, deploy a parachute, and just hang for like 10 minutes on a parachute, and then, there's a radar, and then kill it. Amazing system. Yeah, JP-233. It obviously got axed when the landmine ban came in, but. That's such a British concept. Okay, chaps, we've got this new weapon, right, and to deliver it, we're going to want you to fly down a runway very slowly whilst everybody shoots at you.
Yeah.
Marvellous! Let's do that!
and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the voice for British Jester in the Tornado. That's exactly... If it's not that, then I'll be upset.
No, it'll be somebody like they'll get Fast Jet Performance to do it, They'll be in the back just kind of insulting you.
I hope so. Oh, Tog has just jumped in. By the way, in other news, the US has cancelled the F-22. Well, the thing is, the production line was already shut down, was my understanding.
Right, okay. Britain has cancelled the Warrior.
Interesting. I'll
do you know what? I'm actually not surprised about the F-22.
Well, the writing was kind of on the wall because they delivered less than expected, and then they shut down the production line. So, like, what are they supposed to do after that?
Yeah, and it was a bit problematic as well. See, the thing is there's two right. So the F-35 has sucked up all the money. The hourly cost of running that jet as well is enormous.
You're talking about the F-22.
Yeah. So Yeah, I'm not surprised because they're
And
talking about. Yeah, I mean,
the F-15.
Yeah, I mean, they're interested. Well, yeah, there's the new block of the F-15.
Which they're intending to introduce alongside. It's supposed to supplant the lack of F-22s. Is this more
Yeah,
advanced F-15? Is it the F-15X or something like that? I can't remember.
yeah, and like extensions to the lifespan of the F-18, and extensions to the lifespan of the A-10. So, like, yeah,
And the
there's a lot
F-16,
of
this F-16 was already extended with the
yeah,
CCIP program. I forget if that's what it was called.
yeah. So I'm not surprised the F-22 is getting canned. Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall for that. And there's two new jets on the drawing boards that are supposed to be surfacing towards the end of this decade.
I wonder if
One
they'll
of
go
which,
the same route the RAF have, with their next big aircraft being a pilot optional aircraft.
no. As far as I'm aware, they're still piloted, but from what I understand, one of them is a dedicated fighter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, of course, both of us will need to do some reading.
Yeah, it's interesting, and if it is correct, I'm not actually that surprised. Like,
No, me neither.
it was taking so much money, and I think there's a bit of an argument over its effectiveness. As to, well, for the money, how much more effective was it? Because the newer versions of the AIM-9X and the newer versions of the AMRAAM are, they give quite a capability to any platform that carry it.
Well, yes, because they're also being carried by the F-16s, the F-15s, the F-18s. Like, all of them can carry the new weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. I don't, and I think, like, people in the aviation world, I think there's going to be a little bit of shock about it, but I don't think it'll last long. Like, I think it was coming, and like I say, I think with these sort of two new aircraft that are on the drawing board that are, slated for either end of this decade or early next, like, yeah.
Oh, well, interesting, though. Thanks for that one, Tog. That's a nice bit of late-breaking news. And that brings us to the end of our DCS news programme. But I've got one small announcement before we close off. The VAF server, which has been running experimentally for a time, internally only, is going to be going public tomorrow. I'll be tomorrow morning. I'm going to be taking the password off, and you can all have a go. So currently, there's only a limited land war, but there's a very, very interesting set of kind of cap zones and very nicely integrated air defense network for you to take a poke at, with flyable aircraft on both blue and red sides. And who knows, you might get lucky, and you might see a member of the Virtual Air Force on there at some point. So that's going to be exciting. And this is actually part of a recruitment drive that the Virtual Air Force is running right now. So if you have a shot on our server and you enjoy it and you want to do some nicely curated missions on said server with the squadron, then get in touch. I'll be posting on YouTube and on my Deephack Facebook page, which is linked to my YouTube channel, with the details for joining the server tomorrow. So I hope to see at least some of you out there. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this week. Next week, I'll be posting my next video, which again will be about the AIM-120 and AIM-9X and the F-16, but this time we're going to be using the helmet-mounted sight. We're going to get up close and personal and do some off-bore sight shooting. And dotChuckles, as always, check out his Twitch channel. He's got some fantastic stuff on there. You have been playing a bit of Valheim, I believe.
I have. In fact, I am playing Valheim again tonight. It'll be about 11:30 UK time. With my streaming buddy Sporadically Entertaining, where we shall be Viking nincompoops again. I will be probably making return to War Thunder in the near future.
I'll join you on War Thunder.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. Well, we can do some Twitch streaming on War Thunder. But yeah, come along, drop us a follow. There's a good bunch of people that usually chat there. So yeah, that's me. You can find me at dotChuckles on Twitch.
Fantastic. So as always, everybody, if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. It's a really big help to me and to the channel. And thanks for watching tonight. There's been a fantastic crowd and really good chat there. So, yeah, take care, everybody. Fly safe, and I'll see you all next time.